Chair calls Representative Howard. Okay, Chair lays out House Bill 713 and recognizes Representative Howard to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman Campos, and committee members for the opportunity to lay out House Bill 713. Actually, some of you have heard this before. We have considered this legislation in the past. We passed it in the House, actually, but it ran out of time in the Senate. But for those of you that haven't heard this before, I'm going to lay it out again. On September 2nd, 2022, then Commissioner of the Department of State Health Services, Dr. John Hellerstedt, sent a letter to the governor stating that the 2022 Maternal Mortality and Morbidity Review Committee's report would not be released by its statutory deadline of September 1. In the letter, he said that the department was still in the process of reviewing maternal death cases for the 2019 cohort, but that the extensive nature of this process, coupled with staffing shortages, had led to delay in the committee's ability to release the report by September 1. The extensive nature that he was referring to was the process of redacting information from maternal death case files. According to the department, Texas is unlike any other state in its data collection, the only state, because it has to take an extra step of redacting the maternal mortality records before they are reviewed by the nurses who are responsible for analyzing the data for the committee. The purpose of the redaction is to provide the nurses who review these cases an exemption from reporting a violation of conduct under the Nurse Practice Act. However, the additional step of redacting this information, which again, remember, we're the only state that requires this, has caused significant delay in the preparation of the report and contributed to last year's untimely delivery of the report. For example, let me just say that on average, the department says that they spend 45 hours on average doing the redaction, and then another 20 hours during the review. But some of the redactions can take up to 250 hours. This is an extremely lengthy process. The Maternal Mortality and Morbidity Review Committee was established in 2013 to review findings and statewide rates, ratios, and trends, providing opportunities to address maternal mortality, morbidity, and disparity contributors in Texas, and ultimately to save the lives of Texas moms. The legislature created this committee because Texas had and continues to have an unacceptably high rate of maternal mortality and morbidity. Since 2013, the committee's work has been instrumental in addressing the state's maternal mortality rate and has led to important policy changes that have improved the maternal outcomes in our communities. So, to ensure that the committee can continue to do their work without unnecessary delays, HB713 would allow nurses to review unredacted materials related to maternal mortality and morbidity cases in the course of preparing the review committee's report and would accelerate the process of abstracting data from maternal death cases. With that, members, I will take any questions and reserve the right to close.
Thank you, Representative Howard. Members, are there any questions? Representative Frank?
Yeah, thank you for bringing this. What information, I guess, if they see the information, they can't act on it? Is that what I understand?
For the purposes,
they might be seeing something.
Yes.
That, okay.
Yeah. For the purposes of this review, there would be no reporting of anything that they determined might be misconduct. And I'm not saying that there is misconduct, but if there were, they would be required by the Nurse Practice Act to report that.
Right.
Just like other states have done, they give exceptions when you're reviewing it for trends and that sort of thing and not reviewing it for misconduct. This does not preclude somebody from reviewing it for misconduct, a peer review separately. But for the purposes of this, the redaction would not be necessary because they're not reporting any misconduct.
Okay, thank you. I like the bill. I do think you could ask the agency at some point. It is hard to imagine that the redactions can't be moved towards AI and be done.
Maybe so, yeah.
A whole lot faster.
Absolutely,
So
that's certainly.
But that's more of a technical question that.
And it may be able.
Unrelated to this, but I
think
just cannot imagine that we don't have the ability to do it faster than that.
I think there's resource witnesses here from the agency if you want to ask them directly.
Right, thank you. Thank you,
Senator
Chairman.
Jones?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Really quickly, they they redact information because why?
Because without the ability to allow them to review without reporting, they would be required to report, and that's not the purpose of the review. This is not a peer review for misconduct. This is a review for trends and what care is provided so that we can actually make policy changes, implement. Have you heard of the AIM bundles? These are
No.
these are protocols, if you will, that address certain outcomes of pregnancy that result in morbidity and mortality. So, for instance, obstetric hemorrhage is one of the leading causes of maternal death. So, in reviewing the charts, they look at, well, what did people do differently that maybe worked or didn't work? And the OB-GYNs, their organization has come up with protocols that are best practices based on these reviews that have been implemented across this state in almost all hospitals that have significantly reduced obstetric hemorrhage. So it's helping to find what's not working and what is working so that they can come up with protocols to improve outcomes.
So I understand that.
Okay.
Interestingly, my niece died of SIDS. My sister was on the Houston-Harris County Child Mortality Review Board.
Oh, okay.
Where they reviewed every child death of kids a year and under. So and my sister,
Okay.
so I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out why under the nurse, I guess it's the Nurse Practice Act, I think that's what you said.
Yes.
You've got to redact, what does one have to do with the other?
You're required to report if you see any misconduct.
And
So when they redact it, when they redact the information about the name of the patient, family members, the name of the facility, where it's located, they're only giving information about what happened in the case with totally de-identifying it, then there's nothing that they can report because they don't have that information to report. Does that make sense?
it does make sense. I'm just confused
Okay.
about if I'm reviewing the records to figure out what's going on with maternal mortality.
Right.
And I see, I guess, that somebody did something, misconduct. What does that have to do? I'm just trying to figure out, what does that have to do with me actually looking to see why this mom died? So that's what I'm confused about.
Let me see if this answers that. The misconduct more than likely doesn't have anything to do with it, but the nurse is still required to report it. And they do not want that to bog down being able to look at the record to determine what actually happened in this case, misconduct or not, to come up with what trends there are here so that we can improve the care.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
So this bill will do what, like in one sentence or less?
It provides an exception in the statute. Let me find the words here. Under the Health and Safety Code, that just says this case information is exempted from professional reporting requirements. So all it's saying is that, and let me find it here.
So I may not need you to do that. I want to know if this is the quick answer.
Okay.
So they don't redact it. I see the misconduct. Nurse, you are exempted from reporting it. Keep looking to figure out what's wrong with this
Yes.
patient. Okay, that's all I need. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Okay, thank you for answering your question for me.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Let the record show Representative Pearson present. Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is simply about privacy concerns. I mean, there's a reason why the information is redacted, so are there any concerns about reviewing these records without redactions?
So you're asking if they have the information, then are they violating something in regard to?
Privacy.
Privacy.
HIPAA.
They're all operating under HIPAA, and so there's not an issue of any privacy violations occurring. These are professionals who are using their professional expertise to review the records and are under oath, basically, from their profession, they're not going to be revealing information. That's part of what HIPAA is all about.
Right, but also part of HIPAA is the patient giving permission to other care providers to review those records. I was just concerned, has any of those privacy issues come up in regards to this specific?
No, and if you would like to ask the agency directly about that, we do have witnesses here that could address that for you, but no, that has not been an issue.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Representative. I think we do have one person to testify. And I'll
Thank you.
reserve your right to
Reserve the right
close.
to close.
Yes. Okay, Chair calls Jack Frazee. I show you registered as Jack Frazee.
It's Frazee. It's like
Frazee,
with
I'm
an
sorry.
F. That's
Jack
all right.
Frazee, you are representing the Texas Nurses Association, and I have you registered as for the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you all. Chairman, members, happy to be here with you. I'm just here to say this is a good bill. I'm here on behalf of the Texas Nurses Association to support the bill and answer any questions, although I think Representative Howard handled all of them. So happy to answer any questions y'all have.
Members, any questions for Mr. Frazee? I don't believe so. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's it. Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, or against House Bill 713? Were you registered?
I submitted public comments online. I don't know if that counts or not.
No. You'll have to register to provide testimony. Anyone else? Okay, Chair calls Representative Howard to close.
Thank you all for your consideration. This is just an effort to do more timely review of these records, which will help us save the lives of Texas moms, and I would appreciate your favorable consideration. No other questions, I close. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Howard. If there's no objection, House Bill 713 will be left